Another big visit weekend in the books in Gainesville. So let's bring on Keith Neibuhr of Gators Online for the latest juice. Keith, DJ Lagway fired up the private jet for one of his most important visits to Gainesville because there is plenty of top talent on campus. Let's take a look at some of the big names here. Besides DJ Lagway, you got five-star David Stone, five-star Jeremiah Smith, four-star edge Jordan Ross, and four-star defensive lineman LJ McCray. Those are the guys I really want to focus on here today. Keith, what type of impact did the visit make on Jeremiah Smith, the #1 wide receiver in America?
Yeah, he's not a big talker, right? And so he declined interview requests upon leaving the Florida athletic facility. But we spoke to his father Monday morning, Chris Smith, great guy, lives down in Miami. And he said, look, first and foremost, Florida showed that they loved him. He felt the love. His son, the family, everybody. They felt that he got the attention he deserved. The one-on-time with head coach Billy Napier was outstanding. They feel like and these are his words, not mine, they feel like Billy Napier is a quote-unquote genuine guy. And that's big for any recruit. Josh, you've been in this business for a long time. You know that. Also on the visit, Jeremiah Smith, who again, five-star Ohio State commit, we need to point out, was around DJ Lagway, the five-star quarterback commit for the Gators, a lot. They also were together a lot last week in Nashville at On3's NIL Elite Series event presented by Mizuno. So these guys got to spend like 4 or 5 days together last week, and they've really bonded. And if Florida is going to have a chance with Jeremiah Smith, it's mainly because of the relationship with DJ Lagway. So Florida has improved its standing, we believe, with Jeremiah Smith. But look, he's still committed to Ohio State, and he's still going to officially visit other schools. Florida State and Miami are two of them. There is some feeling, look, Ohio State's confident they're going to keep him, but there is some feeling at Florida and elsewhere in the Sunshine State that maybe, just maybe, Josh, he may want to stay at home in college. We'll see. This is going to be a recruitment that goes all the way to the end. We know that.
Well, going to the end. I mean, he told us at the NIL Elite Series that he's going to make a, quote, final decision come December on the early signing day. So we do know that, he is looking around. So my question to you is, Georgia, Florida, Florida State, and Ohio State, who are you taking here? You going to take Ohio State, or do you take the field? I won't make you pick a team, but I'll give you the field.
So I forgot to mention Georgia. I know that Georgia fans will never let me forget that. But yeah, he's high on them too. I think right now it's going to be hard to flip him. Boy, Josh, I don't know. As of today, I say he sticks with Ohio State, but boy, I don't know. If this is true, if this chatter is true, that maybe he'll want to end up being a little bit closer to home. It's certainly something to monitor, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I think it's hard. I mean, for us to sit here and say a top wide receiver is going to flip from Ohio State, it's hard to say. I mean, we went through this last summer with Brandon Innes. He never flipped, but the rumors never stopped swirling throughout the summer. So we'll see what Jeremiah Smith does. Another top recruit that did not speak to the media coming out of the visit is David Stone. But Keith, good thing I got you on this show because you got sources. So what are you hearing on five-star defensive lineman David Stone coming out of that UF visit?
Hey, I don't have that many. But look, Florida thinks it went great, obviously. But that's a kid that really enjoys the recruiting process, right? So it's one that makes it difficult to read things, you know what I mean? But look, he's from Oklahoma. There's been Oklahoma chatter for a long time. I believe there's also been some Texas A&M chatter, some even Michigan State. We think NIL is going to be significant in his recruitment. To me, that feels like, and Josh, I'm assuming you all have heard the same thing. It feels like a long shot for Florida. Not an extreme long shot, but a long shot nonetheless. But he's attended IMG. He's been to Gainesville many times. And so that proximity allows him to get up there and see things. And he seems to enjoy it more and more each time. He's bonded with the other recruits, including the commits, such as DJ Lagway. But at the end of the day, I actually feel like Florida's got a much better shot with Jeremiah Smith with David Stone.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, proximity keeps the Gators in this. I mean, he probably is a long shot still, even after this official visit. But if you tell me, hey, yeah, David Stone's going to take another trip in July, he might make it back in the fall for a game or two, then, hey, UF could hang around in this thing. They have a good season. Maybe they can have a great shot at David Stone down the road. Let's move on to the number 33 overall player, borderline five-star edge Jordan Ross. He's a major need for the Gators, and this was his second trip to Gainesville this offseason. He's out of Birmingham, Alabama. Can UF withhold the upcoming trips to Texas, Tennessee, and Georgia for Jordan Ross?
Yeah, it's going to be tough, but I do feel I was going to ask you. I was going to say, hey, you're going to ask me about somebody that I feel like Florida can really get. Don't give me all the bad ones. But no, I feel like Jordan Ross. I feel like Florida. We've been reporting this for weeks that Florida was in it much more than people thought. Okay, they set the bar high. Now, how did they set the bar high? Because this is a high academic kid, and mom's a teacher. They are strong into academics. So that's what they wanted to see. So in addition to liking the football side, which is Florida has a big need at the edge position, Josh. Besides all that, the things they loved were the academic stuff, and then also the fact that they felt like family. They felt like they were treated like family in Gainesville. These things matter to a lot of people. They had a great visit. They love Billy Napier. As she said, the bar is way high. So Tennessee, Georgia, Oregon, they're going to have to come really strong to top this. Now, the risk if you're Florida of having all these official visitors in week one is, out of sight, out of mind is a possibility. But if you set the bar really high, then every other succeeding visit, kids say, well, this wasn't that, or maybe it was, but they have something to compare it to. So Florida's plan was to get a strong group in that first week. By the way, they're going to have another strong group in this weekend. They're going heavy in June. But with Jordan Ross, they've made some real progress. By the way, he's also connected with DJ Lagway, Josh. We saw them hanging out together in Nashville, and then they were joined at the hip. They were joined again at the hip this weekend in Gainesville. Not a bad thing. DJ, and I'm going on and on, Josh, but DJ Lagway is not a let me force the Gators down your throat kind of recruiter. He's a, hey, I'm a cool, easygoing guy. If guys like being around me, they're going to like maybe being around me in college. He recruits without recruiting. And it seems to be resonating with a lot of big-time recruits, Josh, who do not like to be told where to go and what to do.
All right, Keith, let's stay on the topic of recruits that UF is in good position for. Fairfax, Virginia, four-star linebacker Chris Jones trending heavily to Florida at 87% on the recruiting prediction machine right now. He said this coming out of the visit. Florida is most definitely in a good spot right now. As of right now, it's just them and the Georgia Dogs. Keith, here we go. Another head-to-head battle with Georgia. Do you think that UF needs to land Chris Jones' commitment before he makes the June 16th official visit to Georgia?
I don't think so. I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing for somebody to look. You'd rather them commit, let's be honest. But if they do go on a visit, then they have two things to compare. You'd rather them, if they're going to waffle, you'd rather them waffle now than 4 months after they commit, after you've, as a staff, if then not only have they committed to you, you've committed to them and you've stopped really recruiting other guys, right? Mm-hmm. So let him go to Georgia. Let him see how it is. Right now, there's a real confidence in Gainesville that they can get this done. These are the kind of wins they need, Josh. Low-hanging fruit, You go after in December, okay? Too often in recent years, Florida has taken guys early in the cycles that they probably could have gotten late in the cycle. So they need to close with Chris Jones. All indications are the visit went unbelievably well. Let's see what happens at Georgia. I think he definitely, in this era, kids want to take multiple visits. I don't blame them. They'll have a better handle of things afterwards, but right now they're in a good spot.
All right, let's go to one of the top in-state targets for the Gators. LJ McCray, four-star defensive lineman, number 93 best prospect overall. Now, Auburn, Miami, and Georgia, they're also going to get OVs this summer. Florida State is going to be in October. Yeah. But right now, where do things stand between LJ McCray and the Florida Gators?
Florida has seen Georgia as the biggest competition, and Georgia has seen Florida as the biggest competition. Well, look, I'm no genius here, Josh, but Georgia seems to have read the pulse of recruiting nationwide pretty well the last few years, right? So if they think that, it stands to reason that's a possibility. But Miami, I believe, was at his spring game. They're rearing their head. And I wouldn't count out FSU. I really wouldn't. And here's why. Look, proximity to home. He's close to the staff there. They've been winning. They seem to be on an upward path. But right now, I feel like Florida and Georgia are probably the two to watch, with FSU next. He had a great official visit. Florida's doing a lot of good things in that recruitment right now.
All right, Keith, the last thing I want to ask you is having a big visit weekend, the first weekend of June, going to be a good thing or a bad thing when the staff looks back on this in a couple months?
Well, I think Clemson thinks it's a good thing, right? And obviously, Florida's not the logo at Florida. It hasn't been as strong to kids the last few years as it's been at Clemson. But Every school kind of differs. I think what we've seen, Josh, is Florida had 17 official visitors. And just so people know, they're also going to have like 15 or more this weekend, and about that many the third weekend in June. So they've spread it out all in June. But you present a great question. And I covered Auburn for many years. And Auburn had that big event, Big Cat Weekend. And people would always expect, 5, 6, 7 commitments. In many years, Josh, they got 0 or 1 out of that big event. It wasn't how many commitments you got that day, that Sunday, or that Monday, or that following week. It's how many of those guys, when you look back in August and September, ended up in your class. Did point. You lay the groundwork for them to become Florida Gators? Florida, the staff, the people at Florida, the coaches, the behind the scenes, they think they have laid the groundwork for Florida to be in position to land multiple players that visited over the weekend. There's a long way to say, I don't know. Okay, I had a lot of I don't knows today. But that's the fluidity of recruiting, right? I mean, look, they feel like it was beneficial to have all those guys there together. Jeremiah Smith, just look at the stroke of luck here. Jeremiah Smith and DJ Lagway were both at our big event in Nashville last week. And then Florida almost got to sort of piggyback off that by having the two together for a full weekend in Gainesville. So would they trade that? I don't think so, because Jeremiah Smith says, I may come back, or his dad says they may come back in July for a barbecue, and they're going to probably be back for a game.
Yeah.
A lot of the kids in Florida, they can get there anyway. So when you have the official visit is sort of irrelevant, you know what I mean? They can come back for unofficials 8 times. It's just a short drive. Even from Miami, it's 4 or 5 hours. So really, I don't see it as being a huge deal. Every school's a little different. Auburn, I think they're going to do a lot of their official visits, Josh, this fall. FSU, we see they're pushing a lot of them back because FSU's expecting to have a big season, right? So they're thinking, hey, let's get people on campus when we're rolling, when it's good. These things can backfire. You just never know.
It's an interesting strategy. I mean, it doesn't get you any more recruits if you get them to commit early. The recruits that commit late aren't any better or worse than the ones that commit early. So none of this really matters right now. It only matters how you finish. But we'll see how the visits impact some of these recruits down the road as they take more visits. But hey, as of now, Gainesville was one of the definite spots to be this weekend. And Keith Neibuhr, thanks for joining the Inside Scoop and giving us all the juice on Gators' big weekend.